G'day humans, Chris Stead here. Today we're going to talk about the pros and cons of curved monitors. Now this video is aimed at people who are using flat monitors or traditionally use flat monitors and they're considering whether or not it's worth upgrading to a curved experience. And it's going to be told to you through my experience of when I did that upgrade myself and what I discovered in that process. So let's dive in. So as I mentioned, the crux of this video is my personal experience in making that step, that leap from a flat monitor to a curved monitor. Now, I'm a typical desk jockey, where I spend a lot of time on my desk and I do a lot of work that is multitasking required. So I think that's most people in the modern day workforce. I'm often in Excel sheets and emails on the internet, on websites, in design software. So I do a lot of stuff that's with video editing, design and InDesign, Photoshop, that kind of stuff. I've always got so much stuff going on. That kind of classic dual screen scenario, and like it's all about multitasking and workflow for me. But on top of that, I also love gaming. I'm a games journalist. I do a lot with the gaming sector, and I love multimedia. I'm an entertainment journalist as well. So I've been working in this space. I love a monitor that's going to be able to serve all those needs. Something that's going to have this, allow me to do the multitasking that I need to do. And it's going to allow me to also be immersed in my games and my movies, should I choose to watch them here on the monitor. Now, a few years back, I've been doing technology reviews for decades. So a few years back when curved monitors were kind of just those kind of curved ultra wide monitors like this one behind me, which by the way, this is the LG Ultra Gear 45 inch. This is huge, this thing. OLED curved monitor. Now I am doing a separate review on that, so you can check the channel out to get a detailed insight into this. But my usual monitor, this one's been sent to me to review. My usual monitor is a 34 inch, but it's also curved. So it's a bit of so it's widescreen, curved monitor. So it looks the same as this, but it's slightly smaller footprint. Now, when I got sent that monitor originally to review, the 34 inch one, I got sent the flat and the curved. So same size, 34 inches, one flat, one curved. And it was a really interesting opportunity for me, who had come from a space of working pretty much on your traditional, say, 27 inch flat screen, which, you know, everyone was working on 10 years ago. So that's where I'd come from. And I wanted that more screen real estate. I wanted to be able to break it up like this into dual screens, or in this case, there's 3 screens, which I've set up for you so you can see what it's like. In fact, I can show you with a video running. And my thoughts were at the time, if I can get a wider screen, I will be able to do more. So I thought, LG, why don't you send me a couple of monitors and I'll do some reviews and experiment with it and see if it's right and what it's like, that experience is like. So the 2 monitors came in and I put the flat screen up, worked on that for a while, and I put the curved monitor up and worked that for a while. And it should obviously be a bit of a spoiler to tell you that I ended up, after I sent those monitors back, then going and buying the 34 inch curved monitor to actually use long term, because the experience was so impactful on me. And there's 2 main reasons why. Now, obviously there's the screen real estate benefits. So this is the ability to multitask to a whole new level. So I've got effectively 2 full monitors here, but it's even so big, this particular one, I can even split it up and have 3 or 4 or lots of different ways. There's presets so you can just drag and drop with the mouse to where you want stuff. Now this allows you to do all kinds of cool stuff. So you can have data here and an Excel sheet here and just be dragging and dropping. When I'm doing design work, I could have my assets here and my design software open over here. I can have emails and then websites open. I can be writing an article on a Word doc in one side and then have the research that I'm using to write the article there. Now obviously you can do this with a dual monitor setup as well, or more than dual monitors, but you're still kind of looking at this giant way. To get from one monitor to the other, I got it stacked in different ways, or it's taking up more desk real estate. But here, it's all into one space. So that's the number one thing. But the second thing is that whether it's curved, everything's pointing towards you. And what I found was when I was using the same size flat monitor, I'm sitting here, I would want to move here to work when I was looking at this part of the screen, and then move over here when I want to work on this part of the screen, because it wasn't actually facing me. And that was really frustrating. because you've also got to move your keyboard and your mouse and everything, and I've cleaned it up and nice and pretty for this video, but usually there's stuff piled everywhere. And so when you've got to move that stuff with you constantly back and forth, left and right, when you're trying to multitask between the two screens, it loses that functionality. It loses that multitasking zip that you're after. And as soon as you curve that screen in towards you, all of a sudden, all you need to do is this. Minor head movements, and everything is looking straight at you. So it's a significant difference, it's an improve. And as soon as I experienced that, for real, between the two, and go, wow, the screen size isn't the issue here, it's the curvature which is making the big difference for me, then that was it. Like, I'm sold and I'm done. Like, I can't imagine going back to any sort of flat screen unless it was like just here and it wasn't available for multitasking. You'd have to go back to a dual screen setup of some sort. And then even if you get a dual screen setup, you tend to kind of boomerang them slightly towards you so that they're kind of facing you, right? So that's my number one experience, or my key bit of experience and tip towards you guys if you're considering upgrading to a curved monitor, is that I think you'll really, really like it. Now, obviously, depending on how big the screen is and how far you are sitting away, you kind of need to get that right a little bit, because if you're too far away and it's curved, so this has got an 800R curvature. So when you see that on a monitor, like a number R, is referring to the radius of the curvature in millimeters, basically. So it's an 800 millimeter curvature on this particular monitor. And that defines the curve. So if you want to be sitting there at the correct angle to be able to just turn your head, right? If you get too far back, then it's going to be curving like too far in, and it's going to not be curving towards your eyes, so to speak. So there's a little bit of adjustment, I guess, to get it right. You want to be able to have a bit of room to play with. The bigger that you get, like this, when you get to 45 inches, kind of the more desk you need, because you want to push it back a little bit further to kind of really maximize your peripherals seeing a lot. Now, I have read people complaining about a few bits and pieces when it comes to curved monitors, big ultra-wide curved models in particular, in that the edges of the screen might like get a bit of a fisheye effect or not be really straight lines. I've never experienced this. I can only think that maybe on some really, really cheap monitors, perhaps there's some struggles there, but I do not see that at all. I can't afford to see that with my design work. I can't afford to not be seeing lines straight. So when I'm designing magazines and books, for example. So that is just not an issue I've come across. And the other one is that the PPI, the pixels per inch, the density can get a bit low because you're basically taking, in this case, 1440p resolution, but it's over this huge, amount of screen real estate. And definitely on the older models, I did notice that it just wasn't as sharp and crisp as I wanted, as I was getting on kind of the smaller flat screens at the time. But the modern ones, so this is a late 2024 model, have done a lot better. And even just putting this into review and replacing it with my 34-inch LG curved monitor from, it was probably 4 or so years old, I immediately, this was just, even though it's the same resolution, was just way crisper and way better. I could see much more. I could see things in design that I couldn't even see on my other monitor, like errors, and I was like, far out, there's a mark there that I couldn't even see before. So they've definitely improved. Plus, there's other entries coming out, notably the Samsung Odyssey Neo G9, which is really starting to push that resolution up as well in this kind of scope of real estate. So yes, you got to pay for that, make no mistake, but that resolution is also improving. So hopefully that is a bit of kind of a buying guide and some tips on what to do or where you need to sit if you're thinking about a curved monitor upgrade or not. I wouldn't be overly keen on doing a very small curved monitor. I'm not 100% sure if they sell many in that kind of like sub 30-inch range that are curved. I think that really wouldn't get you an awful amount of benefit. You might as, maybe slightly. But when you start stepping into these ultra wide ones, that curved thing is the only way to go. I wouldn't be going flat. And the kind of that radius is really going to improve your multitasking, make it less uncomfortable on your body, because you're not going to have to move much. It's just the slightest little head movements and you can see everything you need to see. And then if you're actually going to go into the multimedia aspect of that, start playing games, start watching movies, then it's really quite empowering the way it just curves around you. Do note though that most movies aren't going to take up the full screen because they're not shot in 21:9 aspect ratio, but games do. So that's just one little proviso there. So anyway, that's all I've got to offer you on the difference between curved and flat monitors from my lived experience testing two identical monitors in those two variants right here on this desk. I hope that's helped you out. Otherwise, make sure you check out my other videos, including a review of this monitor in particular. And until next time, I'll check you later. Woo!